All right. Welcome in, everybody, to another deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
So for today's deep dive, we're going to be tackling Shimana Rose's work.
Yeah.
Shimana Quantum Code, a journey into multidimensional healing and infinite love.
Quite a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. It's quite a work.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting book.
Yeah.
I mean, we could spend a lot of time talking about it. But,
we could, yeah.
But we got to focus. So what we're going to be focusing on today is actually chapters 18 and 19.
Okay.
And kind of pulling in some supporting information from the appendices.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so this deep dive is really going to be about equipping you with some practical tools for grounding and protecting your energy.
Yeah, really important stuff.
Now, this is something that is particularly relevant to anybody who's doing energy work.
Yes.
Or, spiritual work. But it's actually just generally good advice.
Yeah.
For anyone who's kind of felt like they've been, scattered a little bit or ungrounded.
Ungrounded, yeah.
And so we're going to kind of dive into some really practical ways that you can use to bring yourself back to center.
Sounds good.
So let's look at chapter 18 first.
Okay.
It's really all about grounding.
Right.
And this is something that's really important. If you've just come out of maybe a healing session or you've been doing a lot of meditation, or you've been doing anything that's very kind of energetically extending.
Yes.
It's how you bring yourself back into your body.
Right.
So what's the first thing that the book kind of talks about?
So the first thing is actually something very accessible, very simple, which is deep breathing.
Oh, yeah.
Combined with visualization. So it's a two-step process.
Okay.
So first you focus your awareness on your breath. That in itself is a really good way of grounding into your body.
Yeah, just feeling that physical sensation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then once you've got that, then you start visualizing. And the visualization they recommend is imagining roots growing from the soles of your feet.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that visualization.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Down into the earth.
Yeah.
Like you're really plugging yourself back into the planet.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the idea is you'd kind of draw up that earth energy through those roots.
Yeah.
To kind of bring that stability into your being.
Yeah, really nice imagery as well.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like a really good first step.
Yeah.
The book also talks about essential oils.
Yes. Yes, a very sensory approach to grounding as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And it suggests a few different ones.
Yeah, so let's kind of break it down a little bit.
Okay.
Frankincense.
Yeah.
So frankincense is good for spiritual grounding.
Yeah.
And they recommend just a drop, on the wrists or behind the ears. And then you've got vetiver.
Vetiver, a very earthy, grounding, calming scent.
Yeah.
And that one is good for putting on the soles of your feet, which is a really direct way of kind of connecting with the earth.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And then we've got cedarwood.
Yeah.
Which is good for connecting with nature.
Yeah.
And that one they recommend either inhaling it from your palms or putting it on the back of your neck.
Yeah.
And then finally, sandalwood.
Sandalwood, a lovely scent.
Yeah.
And that one, again, can be diffused or applied topically.
Okay.
Just to promote a sense of calm and connection.
Okay. So we've got those, the different oils.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to crystals.
Okay.
Because I know this is a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah. A lot of people are really interested in crystals and their properties.
Absolutely. And the book, really dives into this.
It does.
In terms of grounding.
Yeah.
Now we've got black tourmaline.
Yes, a very popular grounding stone.
Yeah.
Black tourmaline is really good because it's thought to absorb excess energy.
Right. Or even like negative energy.
Yeah. Anything that's kind of not serving you.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
So you can hold it in your hand or you can place it at your feet.
Okay.
And then we've got hematite.
Hematite.
This is a really good one if you're feeling a bit spacey.
Okay.
It's good for staying present.
Okay.
And really connected to the physical body.
So it keeps you in the here and now.
Exactly.
Okay.
And for that one, you can wear it as jewelry or place it on your root chakra.
Now, for people who might not know what the root chakra is,
sure.
Where is that?
So the root chakra is located at the base of the spine.
Okay.
It's kind of your foundational energy center.
Okay, so it makes sense why you would put that there.
Yeah, it's your connection to the earth.
Yeah.
Your sense of security, stability.
Yeah. Okay.
Then we've got smoky quartz.
Smoky quartz.
This is another good one for neutralizing negative energies.
Okay.
Really good if you're feeling surrounded by negativity.
Right.
Or if you've been in a particularly challenging environment.
Okay, so that's a really good one to have in your pocket then.
Yeah, just keep it in your pocket, hold on to it.
Or, just on your desk or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then finally, we've got red jasper.
Okay.
Red jasper is a good one for stabilizing and reconnecting with the Earth's energies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a very earthy stone.
Yeah.
And for this one, you can either place it at the base of your spine or carry it with you.
Okay, so that's a lot of different crystals.
Yeah.
A lot of different ways to use them.
Yeah.
We could probably do a whole deep dive on crystals.
Oh, easily.
But let's move on for now.
Okay.
And so this is it's not all just about, the energetic stuff.
Yeah.
It's also about the physical.
Right.
And this kind of makes sense to me.
It does.
Because we are in bodies.
We are embodied beings.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
So, using our bodies to help us ground is really important.
Yeah.
So the book talks about walking barefoot.
Yeah. Barefoot on the earth. So grass, soil, sand.
Just getting the direct contact.
Yeah.
And I've actually heard that there's, science to back that up.
There is, yeah.
In terms of earthing and how it can actually discharge electrical buildup.
Yeah, the Earth's electrical field can help to neutralize our own.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And then, in addition to walking barefoot, there's also gentle movement.
Yeah, anything that gets you back into your body.
Yeah.
So yoga, tai chi, even just stretching.
Yeah, just feeling those muscles stretch.
Yeah. Really good for grounding.
Okay, and then, this is interesting.
Okay.
The book actually talks about nourishing snacks.
Food. Yeah.
As a way to ground.
Food can be very grounding.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Because you're taking in something from the earth.
Yeah, it's exactly.
And so it's taking that energy in.
Yeah, and it's nurturing as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So things like root vegetables.
Root vegetables, yeah.
Carrots, potatoes, beets. It's very grounding.
Is it good?
Yeah.
And then also just generally warm, hearty foods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comfort food.
Comfort food.
Yeah, definitely grounding.
Okay, so I like that.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about water-based grounding.
Okay, yes. So water is another element that is very grounding.
Yeah.
And they recommend a couple things.
Yeah.
One is just to drink a glass of water.
Okay.
With a pinch of sea salt in it.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, I've heard of that, yeah.
So the salt kind of helps to ground and cleanse your energy system.
Yeah, okay.
And then another thing you can do is just take a shower or a bath.
Okay, well, we do that anyway.
We do.
So how can we kind of tweak that to make it more of a grounding experience?
So the key is to really visualize.
Visualize, okay.
As the water is flowing over, you visualize it washing away any unwanted energy.
Okay, so it's like an energetic cleanse.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
And then what about sound?
Sound, yes.
So the book talks about sound as well.
It does, yeah.
For grounding.
Yeah. Sound can be incredibly powerful for shifting our energy.
Yeah.
So they suggest listening to grounding music.
Okay, what kind of music?
So things like drumming, chanting, or even certain frequencies.
Oh, frequencies.
Yeah. So there's this thing called the Schumann resonance.
I've heard of that.
Which is about 7.83 hertz.
7.83 hertz, okay.
And it's thought to be the Earth's natural electromagnetic frequency.
Yeah, so it kind of aligns us with the Earth.
Exactly. Yeah. So listening to that can be really grounding.
Okay, cool.
And then another thing you can do with sound is actually use your own voice.
Okay.
So chanting or humming can create these really nice vibrations in your body.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which can help to ground you.
Okay.
So a couple of different ways you can use sound.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And then there's also the idea of intentional grounding statements.
Yes, the power of affirmation.
Yeah, that's right.
So they recommend adopting a certain posture, which is feet shoulder width apart, hands on your lower abdomen, and then just saying out loud affirmations like, I am grounded.
I am grounded.
I am safe.
I am safe.
I am connected to the earth.
I am connected to the earth.
Very simple statements.
Simple, but powerful.
Yeah, but very powerful.
Yeah.
When you say them with intention.
Yes, especially if you're in that grounded posture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good technique.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
What about closing your energy field?
Yes, closing your energy field.
Because that sounds like something that would be really important.
Yeah, it's crucial.
Especially if you've been doing, energy work.
Especially if you've been working with other people's energy.
Right, right.
Or if you've been in a particularly energetically draining environment.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're not leaving yourself open to any unwanted energies.
Okay, so how do we do that?
So they recommend a visualization.
Okay.
Where you imagine a bubble of light.
Bubble of light, okay.
Around your entire being.
Okay. And you can choose the color of the light.
Okay.
White is often a good choice.
White, yeah.
Or gold.
Gold, yeah.
Whatever feels protective to you.
Yeah.
And then once you've got this bubble, you can imagine zipping it up.
Zipping it up, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So starting from your feet and going all the way up to the top of your head.
Okay.
Just making sure that there are no gaps.
No gaps, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we've sealed ourselves in.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so you've got that nice protective layer.
Okay.
And then finally, they recommend journaling.
Journaling, yeah.
And gratitude.
Gratitude, yeah.
So journaling, just to kind of process any experiences you've had.
Okay.
Bring your focus back to the present moment.
Yeah, like getting it all out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then gratitude.
Gratitude.
Just expressing thanks to the earth, to your guides, to your higher self.
So it's kind of ending on a high note?
Exactly.
And gratitude is always a good way to finish any practice.
Okay, so that was a lot of information on grounding.
It was.
But there was just so much in the book.
Yeah, it's a very comprehensive chapter.
Now let's move on to chapter 19.
Okay.
Which is all about protection.
Protection, yes.
So now that we've kind of, grounded ourselves.
Yeah, we've got that solid foundation.
We need to create some boundaries.
Right, we need to protect our energy.
And this is, again, especially relevant for people who are doing energy work.
Yes.
But also just generally,
Yeah, for everyone.
In terms of like creating a sacred space.
Right, a safe space for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Energetically.
So what's the first thing that the book recommends?
So the first thing is to set clear intentions.
Intentions, okay.
So before you do any energy work, or even just before you start your day, you can set the intention that you are protected.
Okay, how do we do that?
You can say affirmations.
Affirmations, okay.
I am surrounded by a shield of divine light.
I am surrounded by a shield of divine light.
Only energies that serve my highest good can enter my field.
Only energies that serve my highest good can enter my field.
So you're basically setting up energetic boundaries.
Yeah, with your thoughts.
With your thoughts, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they also recommend visualization again.
Visualization.
So similar to the grounding visualization.
Yeah.
You can imagine a bubble of light.
Bubble of light.
Around you.
Okay.
That's acting as a shield.
Okay.
And this bubble can be white, gold, whatever color feels protective to you.
Yeah.
And then we've got crystals again.
Crystals, of course.
Crystals are really good for protection.
Yeah, yeah.
So black tourmaline and obsidian are mentioned again.
Black tourmaline, obsidian.
Yeah, those are both very protective stones.
Yeah.
And then amethyst is also recommended.
Amethyst, okay.
Yeah, amethyst is good for transmuting negative energy into positive energy.
Okay, so we can carry these crystals with us.
You can carry them, you can wear them, you can place them in your environment, wherever you feel you need that extra protection.
Okay.
And then the book also talks about protective symbols.
Symbols, yeah.
Yeah, so things like the Hamsa hand.
The Hamsa hand.
The pentacle. Or the sacred geometry of infinite love.
Okay, now what's the sacred geometry of infinite love?
So that's a concept that's introduced earlier in the book.
Okay.
It's a specific geometric pattern.
Okay.
That's thought to have really high vibrations.
Okay.
And to be very protective.
Okay, so we can either draw these symbols.
You can draw them, you can visualize them, however you want to use them.
Okay.
The important thing is to have that intention.
Yeah, that intention of protection.
Exactly.
And then finally, the book talks about calling upon your guides and angels.
Yes, this is really important.
Yeah.
We're not alone in this.
We're not. No.
We have help.
So we can ask for that help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can call upon your guides, your angels, whoever you connect with for protection and guidance.
Okay, so that's like a really good kind of overview of the different ways that we can protect our energy.
Yeah, there are lots of different techniques.
Now let's talk about creating a sacred space.
Oh, yes.
Because I feel like that's also a really important part of this.
Yeah, your environment can really affect your energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's important to create a space that feels safe and supportive.
Safe and supportive, yeah.
Energetically.
Energetically, yeah.
So the first thing they recommend is to choose a quiet space.
Quiet space.
Yeah, somewhere where you won't be disturbed.
Okay, so like maybe a dedicated room?
It could be a dedicated room.
Or even just a corner of a room.
Or a corner, yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere that feels special to you.
Okay.
And then you want to make sure it's clean.
Clean, okay.
Yeah, so physically clean, like dust, clutter, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, because clutter can be really energetically draining.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they recommend smudging.
Smudging, now how do we smudge?
So smudging is basically using smoke to cleanse the space.
Okay.
So you can use things like sage.
Sage, yeah.
Palo Santo.
Palo Santo.
Frankincense. Sandalwood. You light the bundle or the stick.
Okay.
And then you blow out the flame.
Okay.
So it's just smoke.
Okay.
And then you waft the smoke around the space.
Around the space, okay.
Yeah, making sure to get into all the corners.
Okay.
And as you're doing that, you can visualize the smoke carrying away any negative energy.
Okay, so it's like an energetic cleansing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And then once you've smudged the space, you can set up an altar.
An altar, okay.
Yeah, so an altar is basically a collection of items that are sacred to you.
Sacred to me, okay.
Yeah, so it could be crystals.
Crystals.
Candles. Essential oils. Essential oils, yeah.
Statues of deities.
Okay.
You know, anything that has meaning for you.
Anything that feels good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you can also play music.
Music, okay.
Yeah, so high-frequency music is good.
High-frequency music, like what kind of frequencies are we talking about?
So things like 528 hertz.
528 hertz?
432 hertz.
432 hertz.
Those are both thought to have healing properties.
Okay.
And then you can also play nature sounds.
Nature sounds, yeah.
Chimes. Singing bowls.
Yeah, anything that feels calming.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then candles.
Candles.
Yeah, so candles are good for creating a sense of peace.
Okay.
And you can use different colored candles.
Okay, what kind of color?
So white is good for purity.
White. Yeah.
Blue is good for peace.
Blue, yeah.
You know, again, just whatever feels right to you.
Okay.
And then they also recommend energy cleansing mists.
Energy cleansing mists. Okay.
Yeah. So these are sprays that are made with essential oils.
And you can just spritz them around the space.
Okay.
To cleanse the energy.
Okay.
And then finally, they talk about crystal grids.
Crystal grids.
Yeah. So crystal grids are arrangements of crystals.
Okay.
In specific patterns.
Okay.
And they're thought to amplify the energy of the crystals
okay.
and to create a specific energetic field.
Okay, so what kind of crystals would we use for a crystal grid?
So clear quartz is a good one.
Clear quartz.
Amethyst,
selenite.
Selenite, okay.
Those are all good for raising the vibration and for protection.
Okay, so we've got a lot of different tools that we can use to create this sacred space.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about cleansing energy before, during, and after sessions.
Yeah, so this is really important if you're working with other people's energy.
Okay.
But even if you're not. It's still good practice.
Okay, so before a session.
Yeah. You want to cleanse the space.
Okay, so we can smudge again?
We can smudge.
We can use sound.
Sound, okay.
You can also visualize the space being filled with white light.
Okay.
And you can place intention stones.
Intention stones, what are those?
So these are crystals.
Okay.
That you specifically choose for their protective properties.
Okay.
So selenite and black tourmaline are good ones for this.
Okay, so we're really setting the stage here.
Yeah, we're creating a safe container for the energy work.
Okay, and then during the session.
Yeah. The key is to stay mindful.
Of your own energy.
Of my own energy, okay.
Yeah, and to keep reinforcing your protective shield.
That bubble of light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can also call upon your guides and angels for assistance.
So we're staying vigilant.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
You want to make sure that you're not taking on any unwanted energy from the other person.
Okay, and then after the session?
Yeah. It's important to cleanse the space again.
Okay, so smudging, sound. Yeah, smudging, sound.
Okay.
And you can also do this thing called energetic sweeping.
Energetic sweeping, what's that?
So that's where you use your hands or a feather to kind of sweep the energy out of the space.
Okay.
And you can visualize it going down into the earth.
Okay.
Or being transmuted into light.
Okay, so it's like we're clearing out any residual energy.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then it's also important to release any energies or emotions that may have attached to you.
Yeah.
During the session.
Yeah.
So you can visualize them dissolving.
Okay.
Or returning to their source.
Okay, and then finally, gratitude again.
Gratitude, yeah. Expressing thanks to your guides, angels, the space itself.
So we're ending on that high note again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gratitude is always a good way to seal the energy.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So that's cleansing energy.
Yeah.
Before, during, and after sessions.
Yeah.
Now, what about recharging and refreshing our space?
Yes. So it's important to keep the energy in your space flowing.
Okay.
So simple things like opening windows.
Opening windows, yeah.
To let in fresh air.
Fresh air, yeah.
You can also sprinkle salt.
Sprinkle salt.
Around the perimeter of the room.
Okay, why salt?
Salt is very good at absorbing negative energy.
Okay, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are just a couple of simple ways to refresh the energy in your space.
Okay. And then finally, the book gives some additional advice. Specifically for energy healing practitioners.
Yes.
But I think it's actually relevant to all of us.
I think so too.
So what are some of the things that they recommend?
So staying hydrated and nourished.
Okay, so drinking water.
Drinking water.
Eating well.
Eating well, yeah. Right. Especially before doing any energy work.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, you want to make sure you have enough energy.
Yeah, you don't want to be depleted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then having a regular personal energy hygiene practice.
Personal energy hygiene, okay.
So this is things like taking salt baths.
Salt baths, yes.
Smudging.
Smudging, yeah.
Visualization.
Visualization, so like daily practices.
Yeah, just like you brush your teeth.
Yeah.
You also need to cleanse your energy.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And then setting boundaries.
Boundaries, yes.
This is a big one.
It is a big one.
Yeah, and it's not just about energy work.
It's about life.
It's about life.
Yeah.
You know, setting boundaries in all areas of our lives.
Absolutely.
Is so important.
Yeah.
For our well-being.
For our energy, for our mental health.
For everything.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
And then checking your own energy levels.
Okay, so how do we do that?
So just tune in to yourself.
Okay.
How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Do you have enough energy to do this thing?
Right. So if you're feeling depleted,
you're
not going to want to engage in something that's really energetically demanding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take a break. Rest.
Recharge. Okay. And then minimizing distractions.
Yes. So creating a focused environment.
A focused environment. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're going to be doing energy work, you want to make sure that you're not going to be interrupted.
Okay, so no phones?
No phones.
No TV?